Hello, welcome to Big Bang Radio Spotlights. This is a show where we talk to independent artists from all around the world all about their music and their process for making it. I'm your host, Isaac Anderson, and today I get to sit down with the band Ruby Bones. Without any further ado, here's the interview. Chris, James, thank you guys so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate it. I want to start at the beginning of each of your musical journeys, just like we do with all the other artists that we talk to on the show. So the first question I want to ask you guys is, what is your earliest musical memory?
The earliest thing I can remember in my childhood is I grew up in an incredibly musical family. My dad's one of 10 kids, and I think 8 of them play instruments and were in bands when I was growing up. So probably the earliest thing I can remember is my one uncle is only a handful of years older than me. When I'd go up to visit my grandmother's house, he had his full old school drum set up in the basement every time I'd visit my grandmother. So I can remember being probably 4 or 5 years old, and we'd run down to the bottom of grandma's house.
And your uncle took you to the basement?
Yeah.
That's your earliest musical memory?
And he said, "Be quiet."
No.
Well, you got
And then you banged on the drum set.
Exactly. Like the first time that you pick up the sticks, and like the easiest day when you realize that you can play the beats of "We Will Rock You" is like mind blowing as a 4-year-old, even though it's the most basic thing in the world. So that's probably my answer and the earliest story that I could give you.
All right, Uncle in the Basement, cool. I would say mine is probably I remember being young and just being people would be like, "What's your favorite song?" And I'd always say "Kokomo" by the Beach Boys, and I guess because it's kind of like a lullaby, so like that's like my first in terms of like playing an instrument, it might be probably the recorder in 3rd grade, because I didn't pick up a guitar until I was 14.
Get some of that hot cross bun.
It literally was Hot Cross Buns and like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And I just remember being at the time being like, I don't think this is my playing. I think this instrument just doesn't sound good. And I think that's the truth, is that a recorder just does not sound good.
Want me to blow your mind? When you play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, you're playing so many other songs.
It's the alphabet song. It's Baba Black Sheep. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't learn Kokomo on the recorder. Imagine hearing that.
I will do it. I do like that song. I'll try to make it cool.
Heard that. Well, it sounds like you guys have a pretty cool musical history, and I imagine you guys played in a lot of bands before Ruby Bones, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
that's how we met, actually.
Oh yeah. Well, how exactly was the meaning of that? Like, and maybe you could talk a little bit about some of the other bands that you were in, and like what kind of music they made.
Well, I ran a blog in college. It was called Race Car Space Car. It still exists. It's out there. It's buried deep in WordPress. But I ran that, and like I looked back on it like recently. I actually went through some of the things, and I didn't really write a lot or about anything, but I just like wrote about a few bands I really liked and like some newer bands. And like I'm a big fan of the Strokes, and James was in a band called Twin Berlin who had some like influence from the Strokes, and like their songwriter who was great, Matt.
Heavily indebted. So he somehow found us. We may have reached out. I don't remember.
No, I found you.
Found us in the depths of MySpace or SoundCloud or something, and I guess he started writing about us somewhere. We got in touch, and the next thing you know, we met him at a show in New York or something, and we were friendly ever since. And then he had a band in college, and we ended up playing shows together in our 2 separate bands. And then, as a lot of bands do in college, you go your separate ways.
Yeah.
People grow up. And at that time, I was living in Boston, and I moved down to Jersey right as my band was breaking up and his band was breaking up. So he asked me out on a date one night.
Yeah, after the first time I came to your show, and you're a reporter, and I was like, no, I like have a blog, and you're like, here's a T-shirt, here's a koozie, the same things we do now, and like, and you gave me it was like your band's logo on the Heineken, instead of the Heineken logo, and I was like, yes, I love this so much, and I promptly got drunk and left it in a cab, and was so freaking sad. I was about to curse. I know that's YouTube, but I was just so sad because I was just like, oh no, and I want to wear it the next time I saw you, and and then you broke up, so I don't have to worry about it.
Whose idea was it to start the actual group?
That would be me. Yeah, I was like co-songwriter in the last band, my band from college, Boxed Wine, and then we had some people who liked us and like we're very happy. We went our separate ways, And I just had all these songs. Like we made a really, is it ebullient the right word? A really like, it was kind of like dance rocky kind of stuff, like along the lines of like Tokyo Police Club and Foster the People and some bands at that time. And I had all these songs that were like a little bit darker and a little bit like, no, I don't want to say folkier, but like darker and heavier. And I wanted to do something with them. And so I ended up starting Ruby Bones. I had the band name kicking around in my head for a while. And I'm like, sounds like a band that could exist. So we went with it, and I asked James and my buddy FC from where I was working at the time. And yeah, we started things off. And here we are 4 or 5 years later, getting notifications every 10 seconds.
I'm on the clock.
Darling, don't remember we were so young, carefree on the rooftops how we used to be.
After doing some research on you guys, it looks like you don't only make great music, like you also you just are fun people to listen to and watch in video form and in music form, because it looks like you guys are great friends. I saw some videos on your socials where you guys were like trying to guess the song lyrics, and that was a fun game. And it's so like, as somebody that's been in bands, it's so true, like to try to quiz your other bandmates, like just to see if they know the songs that they're playing. It's fun.
Oh yeah, and they don't. It's
Dude, you got some wrong too. So
I got my own lyrics wrong. You write a lot of songs, and like you reuse words and phrases. They all get jumbled and mixed up. But I put a lot of work into the lyrics, and I was happy you guys knew some of them. You know.
How exactly does the songwriting work in Ruby Bones? Like, do you guys work together in the same room, or just bring stuff together and like, hey guys, I wrote this song, let's work on it?
I think Neil Young had this amazing quote one time where he's like, songs just come to me from the air, I pull them from the air. I don't think he really talks like that, just doing like the old man look at my life voice. But I would say they don't come from the air, but for the most part, I think like I write the basic song, and then I have my good friends tell me it's bad and tear it apart. And then we work on it together in a room, and we build it up into something that everyone's proud of. So yeah, for the most part, like the songs are pretty much me bringing it to the band, but like they don't come out the way they go in. So like
right.
They're added to, and it's a process.
A guitar and vocals on a scratch track that gets uploaded to a Dropbox with a drum machine, just playing 1, 2, 3, 4. And that kind of floats around me and our guitarist Matt for a little while. And right now I think we're sitting on like 24 songs that you sent us, and you're like, right, finish, help.
Yeah,
go.
You're not doing it. And every week, and that's what we're doing tonight, by the way. So yeah. It all comes out of Chris's head, but I guess each individual person's stamp gets put on it somehow throughout the process, and starts to form what the song will actually be in its final version.
Did you guys go into the project knowing how you wanted it to sound, or like, is this just something that just naturally happens? Like, this is the kind of music we make when we get together.
Well, the answer is yes to both, but
I wanted it to be a folk band, and I'm still trying, and you won't let me do it. Everyone keeps making everything so heavy. So
yeah, so it came to us with a very clear picture of what Chris wanted it to be. And I think by the end of practice 1, it was a complete 180 from what he gave us in the demos. It said, I'm putting this band together, and it's going to be folky, and it's going to be,
Yeah, and we'll get there, and it's fine. But we ended up, like, as you can see from like our general like personality, like we're energetic. So we like to drink a lot, and we like to party. And I came in with like a bunch of like somber, pretty songs of like, this is what I'm imagining. And everyone was just like, thrash, 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 thrash. Like, what about that? And I was like, 3 beers in, I'm like, that sounds awesome too. Let's just do that. Like, and we accidentally like Andrew WK-ified a bunch of our material.
I want to talk about your latest album, which just came out a couple weeks ago at the time of recording this. It's Lasertooth Tiger. By the way, awesome name for an album. I really like the album art. So what was the process of making that record like? And what does that record mean to you guys?
long.
It was long only because we decided to kind of like release it in segments. And now that it's out, I can say that because all the reviews have been written already. But we put it out in different installments. So we like pretty much like the first few songs came together. We recorded them, and I'm like, oh, here's the vibe of like where we're going with this. Yeah, here's Laser. We literally did Laser, Tooth, and then Laser, Tooth, Tiger. And I don't recommend anyone trying to market an EP called Tooth because nobody wants to listen to something called Tooth. And that was a mistake on our part. But people did listen, and now they can hear the whole thing. But we just did everything in sections. But because of doing that, we had like some of the songs weren't finished yet. Like the opener, Tired Eyes, and the closer, Press Rewind, weren't done when we did like Laser. So like they came about, and like that was like some internal fun band drama as well. About like figuring out, oh, these songs are both in the key of A, like let's just combine them into one super long song. And I was like, no, we're not going to do that. That's a horrible idea, Matt. But yeah, we did it in sections, but because of that, we had like a separate drum day for the first three songs, a separate drum day for the second 4 songs. And yeah, like so that was entire mixing processes. I wouldn't want to do that again. But I'm glad we did it because it got people to like, we filled the gap because like now you live in this world where the president of Spotify was like, you should release a song every 7 days if you want to stay relevant. And everyone's like, cool, not going to happen, bro. But we were trying to like do stuff like incrementally rather than like, it's so sad. Like the last Vampire Weekend album came out and it was like, here's a song, like the album's out next week. And every place wrote a review. And then the week after that, nobody was talking about it. Like it was just done. And like our culture moves so fast that, yeah, we took a long time to do it.
Wrote a better record.
I mean, that was the opinion of a lot of reviewers.
Oh, I didn't listen to it.
Oh, okay. I mean, I wouldn't name a record Father of the Bride, but it's just a Steve Martin movie, so that's weird. But whatever. Was that the answer to your question?
No, I thought it answered it pretty well. I'm really excited for everyone to hear the record if they haven't heard it already. I think that answered it perfectly well. And I'm just wondering, are you guys working on anything new? I know the record just came out, but like, do you have anything kind of coming down the pipe that you want to tell us about?
So right now it's just all Laser Tooth Tiger all the time, and yeah, I'm just happy it's reaching some people and connecting with them, and like it's doing better than the first record, and that's the dream of every band is to like, you know, improve upon what you've done before. So
if people want to keep up with all the stuff that Ruby Bones is doing, how can they find you guys on social media and online?
We are Ruby Bones Band on Facebook and Instagram. We are Ruby Bones on Twitter. That's the easiest, quickest way. We are not a vanity URL on YouTube, so just pop that in the search and you'll find a ton of content that comes up. RubyBonesBand.com is the website. Add it on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, Deezer, whatever you use to listen to it. Steal it, give it to your friend.
Yeah, honestly, tape it off the radio. Tape it off the college radio station like it's 1986.
Yeah.
And college only costs $2,000 for 4 years and a full education.
And you'll get that sweet intro by Isaac as he's talking over the intro guitar riffs.
Oh yeah. Next up, it's Ruby Bones with their new song Rooftop. Yeah, I had to record a bunch of like radio thing. I did one for Big Bang Radio. I did like hey, this is Chris Fox and you're listening to Big Bang Radio. And like I couldn't not do a radio announcer voice, and I did so many, and then I went back and redid a few because I felt like I was making fun of the radio voice and I didn't want to come across that way. But knowing something's on radio, you really just want to do you're listening to 92.4 FM. Like, I don't know.
Everything that rocks.
Oh God, you guys didn't have one, but there was one like it was like something ridiculous. So I had to be like, hey, this is Chris Fox from the band Ruby Bones, and you're listening to like
Radio Nope.
No, well, Radio Nope was really funny, but Radio Nope was just funny to say. But it was like Chris Fox from the band Ruby Bones, and you're listening to 97.4 FM. LP QR7, the college radio rock sound of Duluth, Massachusetts. And I'm like, oh my God, this is 40 seconds long. There's no way to say this long phrase.
Duluth's in Minnesota.
I don't know where Duluth is.
A friend of the show, actually, a band called Sad Kids from Duluth. Yeah, so Duluth's a friend of the show. Don't talk bad about Duluth.
What's the chance of me insulting someone? Someone from Duluth happens to be there?
Oh, well.
You win some and you Duluth some.
Oh, go home.
I can't.
Guys, it's been a pleasure talking to you both. We really do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to talk with us on Big Bang Radio Spotlights. But before we go, I got one more question for you. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen a Big Bang Radio Spotlight before, but I'm a musician, but I also love film, and I believe those two worlds are not too far away from each other. So I ask all the guests on this show before they leave, what is your favorite movie?
Mine is probably Wayne's World. I can revisit that
Wayne's
all
World.
the time,
Yeah.
and it never gets old. And if it comes on TV and I flip through the channel and I see it, I'm
watch the
going to
whole
watch
thing,
it until the end, no matter what.
All right. Mine would be, I'll stick with you in the world of comedy, and my favorite comedy is Zoolander. I've owned Zoolander on I think I had it on Blu-ray, DVD, and I had a video copy at one point, and was so disappointed by the sequel. But pretend it doesn't happen. But yeah, I could quote that movie start to finish.
Thanks to Ruby Bones for sitting down with us and talking all about their music. If you guys want to see more interviews just like this, you can find us online at Studio 67 NCC. Thank you all for watching. I'm Isaac Anderson, and until next time, stay lovely.